I never thought my 7-year-old daughter would be the one to expose 15 years of lies and finally show everyone who my mother-in-law really was. My name is Delaney, and what happened in my living room last Saturday changed everything I thought I knew about my husband, my marriage, and the woman who had tormented me since the day I said I do. I'm standing in my kitchen, gripping the counter so hard my knuckles are white, while my mother-in-law, Nain, towers over my 3 children in the living room. My oldest, Colton, is 10, and usually acts tough, but tears are streaming down his face. My baby Mila, only 2, is wailing in her high chair, sensing the tension, even if she can't understand the words. And then there's Piper, my 7-year-old daughter, standing there in her favorite unicorn dress with her little hands balled led into. Nadine's voice cuts through my home like a knife. Your mother is the reason your family is falling apart. She's pushing everyone away. She's ruining everything. The woman who's supposed to love my children is deliberately breaking their hearts. And my husband, Garrett, is nowhere to be found. Off at some golf tournament, leaving me to handle his mother alone like always. I'm about to grab my phone to call 911 to get this woman out of my house before she does more damage when Piper does something that stops everyone cold. She reaches into her little pink purse, the one with the sparkly butterflies she got for her birthday, and pulls out her emergency phone. Her tiny voice is steady and clear, nothing like you'd expect from a 2nd grader facing down an adult. Grandma, Daddy told me to show you this if you ever blamed Mommy. Nadine actually laughs. This harsh sound that makes my skin crawl. Sweetie, you don't understand what's happening here. This is grown-up talk. But Piper doesn't back down. Unlocks her phone with the confidence only kids who grew up with technology have. Swipes through her apps and holds it up high. Daddy said you'd say that too. He said to play the video no matter what, even if you tried to stop me. The room goes silent except for Ma's sniffling. Nain's face shifts from condescending amusement to something else. Maybe the first flicker of fear I've ever seen in her eyes. As for me, I'm frozen in place because I had no idea my husband had given our daughter any kind of video. I had no idea he'd prepared for this moment. When Piper hits play and my husband's face appears on that tiny screen, when his voice fills my living room with words I never knew he'd recorded, that's when Nain starts to realize her 15-year game is finally over. And when she sees what comes next in that video, she doesn't just scream, she runs. But I'm getting ahead of myself. To understand why a grandmother would traumatize her own grandchildren, why a husband would secretly prepare his 7-year-old for battle, and why that video made a woman who'd never apologized for anything in her life flee from a little girl with a phone. I need to start at the beginning. I need to tell you about the perfect family that never really was and the mother-in-law who spent every single day trying to destroy it. My life in Scottsdale looked perfect from the outside. Every morning I'd wake up in our 4-bedroom house on Musquet Avenue, the one with the wraparound porch and the lemon tree in the backyard that actually produced lemons. I'd make breakfast for my 3 kids while Garrett got ready for his job at Preston Financial, where he managed portfolios for people who had more money than they knew what to do with. By 7:30 I dropped the older kids at school before heading to Willowbrook Elementary, where I taught 3rd grade to 22 8-year-olds who called me Mrs. Mitchell and brought me apples, even though no one really does that anymore. This was the life I dreamed about since I was young. A loving husband, beautiful children, a career I was passionate about, and family dinners where everyone shared their highs and lows from the day. We had all of that except for one poisonous detail that infected everything else. Nain, Garrett's mother, had hated me from the moment we met 13 years ago. I still remember that first dinner at Shaw Lauren, this upscale French restaurant, where the menus didn't have prices and the waiter looked personally offended when I asked for ranch dressing. Nain had taken one look at me, a public school teacher from a middle-class family in Phoenix, and decided I wasn't good enough for her precious son. "So, you teach children," she'd said that night, making it sound like I clean toilets for a living. Oh sweet. Garrett dated a pediatric surgeon once, Dr. Whitman's daughter. Brilliant girl. She's running the children's hospital in Boston now. That set the tone for everything that followed. Our wedding, she wore white, not cream, not ivory, but actual white, and told everyone who'd listened that she was mourning the loss of her son. When Colton was born, she criticized how I held him, how I fed him, even how I changed his diapers. In my day, we didn't need all these fancy organic products. Regular formula was good enough, and our children turned out just fine. The comments were constant, relentless, like water dripping on stone. My cooking was interesting, but not how Garrett likes it. Housekeeping was different from how proper homes are maintained. My parenting was very modern, though. Children need structure. Each criticism came wrapped in a smile delivered in front of Garrett, who would just shake his head and later tell me, "That's just how Mom is. She means well." She didn't mean well. I knew it. And deep down I think Garrett knew it too. He just couldn't face it. The real problem started 3 months before that Saturday. I'd finally had enough when Nain told Colton that he didn't have to do his homework because Grandma thinks learning should be fun, not forced. She'd been undermining me for years, but now she was directly interfering with my children's education and well-being. Sat Garrett down after the kids went to bed and laid it out clearly. "Your mother needs boundaries," I said. "No more surprise visits. No more contradicting our parenting decisions. No more expensive gifts without asking us first." Garrett had rubbed his face the way he always did when stressed. "Delaney, she's just trying to be a good grandmother. A good grandmother doesn't tell a child that his mother's rules are stupid." Back. A good grandmother doesn't feed a lactose-intolerant toddler ice cream just to prove that I'm being overprotective. We'd fought about it for hours. Eventually, Garrett agreed to talk to his mother, and apparently he had, because Nadine's visits dropped from 3 times a week to once, and she stopped bringing gifts every time. I thought we were making progress. Thought maybe we could salvage some kind of functional relationship. What I didn't know was that Nain had just gotten sneakier. She started texting Colton on the tablet we'd given him for educational apps, telling him things like, "Grandma loves you more than anyone, and some people don't understand how special our bond is." She'd pick the kids up from school without telling me, claiming there was a miscommunication when I'd panic trying to find them. She'd whisper things to them when she thought I wasn't listening. Little seeds of doubt about my decisions, my love, my commitment to the family. Garrett always had an excuse. She's getting older. She's lonely since Dad left. She just wants to feel needed. He'd promised to talk to her, and maybe he did, but nothing ever changed. I started to feel like I was going crazy, like I was the problem for not being able to just accept this treatment. That's where we were when Saturday arrived. Garrett at his golf tournament, me trying to make grilled cheese sandwiches while Mila banged her sippy cup on her tray, and suddenly Nain walking through my door with that emergency key we'd given her 5 years ago and never had the courage to take back. I should have known something big was coming. I just never imagined she'd use my children as weapons. That Saturday started like any other weekend. Garrett left early for his golf tournament at Paradise Valley Country Club, kissing me on the forehead while I was still half asleep. "Client event," he mumbled. "Should be back by 4. I remember thinking it was strange that he seemed nervous, fidgeting with his wedding ring the way he did when something was bothering him. But I figured it was work stress. By noon, I had Colton at the kitchen table working on his solar system project. Piper was sprawled on the living room floor with her coloring books, and Mila was in her high chair mashing banana slices with her tiny fists. The house smelled like grilled cheese and tomato soup, and I was actually feeling good about the day. Then I heard the key in the lock. My stomach dropped before I even saw her. Only one person had that key, and she wasn't supposed to be here. Nadine walked in like she owned the place, carrying 2 massive FAO Schwartz bags and wearing that pursed lip expression. That meant she was ready for battle. She didn't knock, didn't call out a greeting, just marched straight into my home wearing her expensive St. John's suit and those pearl earrings she never took off. "Grandma's here," she announced, and Colton's head shot up from his project. Piper dropped her crayons. Even Mila started bouncing in her chair. "Nain," I said, keeping my voice steady. "We talked about calling before visits." She set the bags down. With deliberate slowness, her eyes never leaving mine. "I don't need an appointment to see my grandchildren. Delaney, this isn't your office hours at that little school of yours." The dismissive tone, the way she said little school, like I worked at a daycare center instead of one of the district's top-rated elementary schools. It all hit exactly where she intended, but I'd gotten better at not taking the bait. "The kids are having lunch. You can visit after Garrett gets home." I moved toward the bags and we discussed no more gifts without asking first. That's when her mask slipped completely. "You discussed, you decided. You and everything is about what you want, isn't it?" "Mom, please." I tried to de-escalate. "The kids don't need more toys. Their rooms are already overflowing. Their rooms wouldn't be so cluttered if you organized properly." She snapped, then louder so the kids could hear. "Children, come see what Grandma brought you. Unless your mother forbids that too." Colton was already halfway to the bags when I stepped in front of them. "After lunch, if Grandma decides to stay and follow our house rules." The silence that followed was electric. Nadine's face flushed red, then purple, her hands clenched into fists at her sides. "House rules. I was managing a household before you were even born. This is my household," I said quietly. "For now." She hissed, and something in her tone made my blood run cold. She spun toward the living room where all 3 kids were now watching us with wide eyes. "Children, come here. Grandma needs to tell you something important." "Nain, don't." But she was already gathering them around her on the couch, pulling Colton close, beckoning Piper over. Grabbed my phone to call Garrett, following them into the living room. "Your mother," she began, her voice dripping with false concern, "is destroying our family. She won't let me see you. She's pushing me away, and soon she'll push your daddy away too." "Stop," I said, but she kept going. "She doesn't want you to have a grandmother who loves you. She's jealous of how much I care. That's why she makes all these rules. Why she won't let me bring you presents or take you places. Your mother is the reason our family is falling apart." Colton's face crumpled. "Mommy's breaking our family." His voice was so small, so confused. Tears started rolling down his cheeks. Piper looked between us, her little face scrunched in confusion. "But Mommy loves us. Sometimes people who say they love us hurt us the most," Nain said, looking directly at me as she spoke. Mila, picking up on the tension, started crying in her high chair. The sound of all 3 of my children in distress, while this woman poisoned them against me, was unbearable. I frantically dialed Garrett, my hands shaking. He answered. On the 3rd ring, wind and Gulf chatter in the background. "Hey, what's up? Your mother is here. She's telling the kids I'm destroying the family. Garrett, she's traumatizing them." I heard him. Actually, sigh like I was interrupting his game with drama. "I'm in the middle of the tournament, Delaney. Can't this wait? Just let Mom visit for an hour. How bad can it be? How bad?" "She's making Colton cry. She's telling them I'm going to make you leave. I'll talk to her when I get home. Just try to keep the peace for now." He hung up. My husband, the man who promised to protect and defend me, hung up while his mother emotionally abused our children in our own home. That's when Piper stood up, her little chin raised in defiance, and everything changed. Piper stood up from the couch with a determination I'd never seen in her 7-year-old face. She was still wearing her Saturday outfit, the purple unicorn dress with the tulle skirt she'd picked out herself. But something in her posture made her look older, more serious. She walked right up to Nain, who was still holding Colton against her side like a prop in her performance. "Grandma, you're lying," Piper said, her voice clear and steady. The room went completely silent, except for Maylaw's sniffling. Even Colton stopped crying to stare at his little sister. Nadine's mouth opened and closed like a fish, gasping for air. "Piper, sweetheart." Nain started, reaching out to touch her shoulder, but Piper stepped back. "Remember, you're telling lies about Mommy. And Daddy said if you ever did that I should show you something." My heart stopped. Garrett had said what? When I watched my daughter walk over to her little purse hanging on the coat rack, the pink one with sparkly butterflies, that she took everywhere. She pulled out her emergency phone, the one we'd given her just 3 months ago after she started walking home from the bus stop. "Daddy told me something important," Piper continued, turning back to face Nain. "He said you might say mean things about Mommy one day, and if you did, I had to be brave and show you this video." Nadine laughed, but it wasn't a real laugh. It was sharp and nervous. "Oh, sweetie, you don't understand what's happening here. This is a grown-up conversation. Your daddy wouldn't want you involved in this." "He said you'd say that too," Piper replied, already swiping through her phone with the ease that amazed and terrified me in equal measure. "He said you'd try to make me stop, but I shouldn't listen. He said protecting Mommy and our family was more important than being polite." I sank into the armchair, my legs suddenly unable to hold me. Garrett had prepared our 7-year-old for this moment. He'd known this would happen. He'd given her instructions, made her practice, turned our daughter into a tiny soldier in a war I didn't even know he was fighting. "Piper, honey." Nain's voice took on a wheedling tone. "Why don't you put the phone away and we can talk about this like a family?" "We're talking like a family," Piper said. "But you're not being nice to my Mommy, so now you have to watch this." She found what she was looking for and held the phone up high out of Nadine's reach. Her little finger hovered over the play button. "This is ridiculous." Nain stood up, towering over Piper. "Give me that phone right now." "Young lady." "Whoa." Piper took another step back. "Daddy said this was my job. He said I was the bravest one and that's why he picked me." Colton had gotten up from the couch and moved to stand next to me, his hand finding mine. "Mom, what's happening?" he whispered. "I don't know, baby," I whispered back. And it was the truth. I had no idea what was on that video, no idea when Garrett had made it or why he'd involved Piper instead of handling this himself. Nadine made a grab for the phone, but Piper was quicker, dancing back with the agility of a child who'd been in gymnastics since she was 4. "Daddy said, you might try to take it. He said, if you did, I should scream really loud and run to Mommy. Your father is going to hear about this." Nain threatened. "This is inappropriate. Filling a child's head with adult problems." "You just did that," Piper pointed out with the brutal honesty only children possess. "You made Colton cry and told us Mommy was bad. That's what Daddy said was wrong." I watched this exchange in amazement. My little girl, the one who still needed a nightlight and couldn't tie her shoes properly, was standing up to the woman who'd terrorized me for over a decade, and she was winning. "Daddy made me practice," Piper continued. "Every Tuesday when you took Colton to soccer and Mommy was giving a bath, Daddy and I would practice. He said it was our secret mission. He said, sometimes daddies need their daughters to be heroes." My eyes burned with tears. I refused to let fall. All those Tuesday evenings when I thought Garrett was just playing games with Piper. He'd been preparing her for this. He'd known he couldn't confront his mother himself, so he'd found another way. He also said, Piper added, her finger still poised over the play button, that after you watch this, things would be different. He said, you might get really mad or really sad, but that was okay because sometimes the Truth makes people feel big feelings. Nain's face had gone pale. For the first time since I'd known her, she looked afraid. Actually afraid of what a 7-year-old with a phone might be about to show her. "So I'm going to play it now," Piper announced. And Daddy said, "Once it starts, I have to let it play all the way through, no matter what." She pressed play. The phone screen lit up with Garrett's face and his voice filled my living room. He was in his home office sitting at his desk with the pictures of our family visible behind him. The timestamp showed 3 weeks ago, a Sunday afternoon when I'd taken the kids to the park. "Mom, if you're watching this, it means you've finally crossed the line I always knew you would. Plus, you've blamed Delaney in front of our children." His voice was tired but firm. Nothing like the conflict-avoidant man I'd been married to for 12 years. Nadine lunged for the phone again, but Piper held it high, backing against the wall. Daddy said to keep playing it no matter what. The video continued. "I'm recording this because I'm a coward, Mom. I can't say these things to your face because you trained me from birth to never contradict you, never upset you, never stand up to you. But I can't let you destroy my family anymore. Turn it off." Nadine shrieked. "This is lies. He's been manipulated." But Garrett kept talking. "For 13 years, you've tortured the woman I love." "Yes, Mom," said torture. "That's what it is when you tell someone they're worthless every single day. When you try to turn their children against them, when you sabotage their marriage with lies and manipulation." The screen changed to security footage from our house. Gasp. We didn't have security cameras inside, or so I thought. The footage showed Nain in our kitchen talking to Colton while I was in the bathroom. "Your mommy doesn't really love Daddy," Nain was saying in the recording. "She trapped him by getting pregnant with you. That's why Daddy looks so sad sometimes." Colton's face in the present crumpled as he heard this. Grandma said that. He looked at Nain with such betrayal that even she took a step back. The video switched to another clip. Nain going through my purse, taking out the anniversary card I'd bought for Garrett, reading it and throwing it in the trash. Then another Nain in my kitchen, adding something to my plate at Thanksgiving while everyone else was in the living room. "That's the stuffing with walnuts," Garrett's voice narrated. "Delaney told you 3 times she was allergic. You said you forgot, but this video from our doorbell camera shows you deliberately putting it on her plate and covering it with gravy." Felt sick. That Thanksgiving I'd had such a bad reaction. I'd needed my EpiPen. Nadine had cried, claiming she felt terrible about forgetting. "But here's the worst part, Mom." Garrett's face returned to the screen. "The money. Should I tell Delaney about the $30,000? Nain went white as paper. "No, please. You told me you needed it for medical bills. You cried. Said you were too proud to ask anyone else. You made me promise not to tell Delaney because you didn't want her to think less of you." Garrett laughed bitterly. "But there were no medical bills, were there? You used it for that cruise with your book club, the new car, the jewelry you're wearing right now." My head spun. $30,000. We'd been struggling to save for the kids' college funds. And Garrett had given his mother $30,000. "I have all the evidence, Mom. Bank transfers, recordings of our conversations, emails where you admitted what you really think of my wife." The screen showed document after document, email after email. One subject line read, "That teacher you married." Another, "When you come to your senses." "I've sent copies to my attorney," Garrett continued. "If you ever speak badly about Delaney again, if you ever try to poison our children against their mother, I'm filing a restraining order. I'm also prepared to pursue fraud charges for the money you stole through emotional manipulation." Nadine was backing toward the door now, her face cycling through rage, fear, and disbelief. "You wouldn't dare. Your mother." But the video wasn't done. "Kids, if you're watching this with Grandma, I need you to know something. Your mom is the strongest, kindest, most loving person I know. She's put up with Treatment that would have broken most people. And she did it because she loves our family. Grandma is sick not with something doctors can fix with medicine, but with something in her heart that makes her hurt people. It's not your fault, and it's not Mommy's fault. Piper was crying now, but still holding the phone steady. Colton had his arms wrapped around my waist. Even Mila had gone quiet in her high chair, sensing the gravity of the moment. And, Delaney. Garrett's voice softened. If you're there, I'm sorry. I'm sorry it took me so long. I'm sorry I let her hurt you while I pretended not to see it. I'm sorry I was too weak to be the husband you deserved. I'm at my lawyer's office right now, not at golf. I'm filing the paperwork to protect our family. No more hiding. No more excuses. No more letting her poison our home. Video ended with Garrett looking directly into the camera. Mom, get help. Real help. Until you do, stay away from my family. The screen went black. The silence in the room was deafening until Nadine let out a sound I'd never heard from her before. Something between a scream and a sob. You turned my son against me. You poisoned him. She pointed at me, her carefully styled hair coming undone, her makeup running. Whoa. Grandma, Piper said quietly, setting down the phone. You did that all by yourself. Nain fled then. Actually ran from my house, leaving her expensive bags behind, leaving her dignity scattered across my living room floor, leaving behind the mask she'd worn for so many years. The silence after Nain fled lasted maybe 10 seconds before Colton broke down completely. Mom, I'm so sorry, he sobbed against my shoulder. Grandma told me things and I believe them sometimes, and I'm so sorry. Baby. Whoa. I held him tight, Piper climbing into my lap too. None of this is your fault. You're 10 years old. You're supposed to trust your grandmother. The front door opened 20 minutes later, and Garrett walked in wearing a suit, not golf clothes. He looked exhausted, but determined, like a man who'd finally fought a battle he'd been avoiding his whole life. He took in the scene. His children clinging to me, the abandoned shopping bags. His mother's purse forgotten on the floor in her dramatic exit. She saw it, he asked quietly. I nodded, unable to find words yet. He sat down heavily in the armchair across from us. I've been in therapy for 6 months. Dr. Martinez helped me understand that. My mother has narcissistic personality disorder. Every session we'd work through another memory, another manipulation, another time I failed to protect you. He rubbed his face. Started recording everything 3 months ago when you set those boundaries. I knew she'd escalate. Just didn't know when. You used Piper, I said, not accusingly, just trying to understand. I'm sorry, he said to both of us. I knew I'd freeze if Mom confronted me directly. Always do. But I also knew Piper wouldn't. She has your strength, Delaney. The strength I've always wished I had. Daddy said I was the bravest, Piper said proudly. He said I was protecting our family like a superhero. Over the next weeks, the truth kept unfolding. Garrett showed me everything. The therapy notes, the lawyers' documents, the evidence he'd gathered. Nadine had been stealing from us for years. Not just the 30,000 but smaller amounts here and there. She'd been telling extended family members lies about me, claiming I was abusive, that I kept the children from her. She'd even contacted my principal trying to get me fired, saying I was unstable. The restraining order was granted immediately. The judge reviewed the security footage, particularly the wallet incident and the deliberate poisoning, and granted us a 2-year protection order. Nain was offered supervised visitation if she completed a psychological evaluation and attended therapy. She refused both. Instead, she launched a campaign on social media, claiming we'd brainwashed her son and alienated her from her grandchildren. But Garrett was prepared for that too. He'd kept recordings of her admitting to the lies, the manipulation, even laughing about how easy it was to make me look bad. The extended family divided. at first, but as more truth came out, most sided with us. Garrett's Aunt Martha called me one evening. Honey, I watched Nain destroy Garrett's father for 20 years. Calvin's a good man who just couldn't take it anymore. We all saw it, but nobody wanted to rock the boat. I'm glad Garrett found his courage. That's when Calvin, Garrett's father, reached out. He'd been essentially excommunicated from the family after the divorce 10 years ago. Nain painting him as the villain who abandoned his family. The truth was different. She isolated me from everyone. He told us over coffee. Made me believe I was worthless, that nobody else would tolerate me. Leaving her was the hardest thing I ever did. But staying would have killed me. Calvin became the grandfather our kids deserved. He came to soccer games, helped with homework, and never once criticized my parenting or undermined our rules. He'd learned from his own trauma what healthy boundaries look. 6 months later, Nain made one last attempt. She sent letters to each of the children through her lawyer, claiming she was dying and needed to see them one last time. The manipulation was so transparent, even Colton saw through it. She's lying again, isn't she, Mom? Just like always, we found out later she'd told the same lie to 3 different church groups, trying to get them to pressure us into contact. When that failed, she moved to Florida to live near her sister, still posting on Facebook about her stolen grandchildren and her corrupted son. The real healing took time. All 3 kids went to therapy to process the emotional manipulation they'd endured. Garrett continued his own therapy, working through decades of psychological abuse, and our marriage surprisingly grew stronger. He'd finally chosen us fully and completely, and that act of choosing changed everything. Piper kept the video on her phone for months before we finally deleted it together. Don't need it anymore, she said. Daddy doesn't have to hide behind me now. He can protect us himself. She was right. The man who couldn't even answer his phone during a crisis had become someone who spoke up immediately when anyone crossed a line. He'd found his voice by first giving voice to his daughter and then finally claiming it for himself. Learned something crucial through all of this. Sometimes the most dangerous people in our lives share our last name. They sit at our holiday tables, hold our children, have keys to our homes. They count on family loyalty and social politeness to shield their abuse. But documenting the truth, setting boundaries, and protecting our children's emotional safety matters more than keeping peace with someone who was never peaceful to begin with. Garrett and I tell this story now because we know there are other families out there living this same nightmare. Other spouses being tortured while their partners stay silent. Other children being used as weapons in psychological warfare. Document everything. Trust your instincts and remember that keeping a toxic grandparent in your children's lives isn't love. It's enabling abuse. The last thing Piper said about that day still echoes in my mind. Mommy, you know what? Daddy didn't make me brave. Did. Every day when you smiled at Grandma, even when she was mean, when you still made her coffee just how she liked it, when you never said bad things about her, even when she hurt you, you showed me that being brave isn't about being mean back. It's about protecting the people you love, even when it's scary. My 7-year-old understood what it took me 13 years to learn. Real love doesn't destroy families. It protects them, even from the people who should love them most. If this story resonated with you, if you've lived through something similar or know someone who has, please like this video and share. Your story matters and you're not alone. Comment below with your own experiences. This community has taught me that sharing our truth helps others find theirs. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more real stories about family, courage, and finding your voice when it matters.